Welcome to the Trust Factor Radio, bringing you interviews and insights to unlock the power of the subconscious mind to create authority, credibility, and trust. With your host, the Authority Architect and best-selling author, Neil Howe.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my special guest is Anthony DeMarco. He is the founder of Boston Web Group, and it is a company that makes you money off of Google using something called SEO, which is search engine optimization. Well, there's always a lot to talk about when we're talking search engine optimization and digital marketing. So, Anthony DeMarco, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Neil. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I am very interested to hear all the ins and outs of SEO and what you've got going on about Boston Web Group. But give us a brief background into yourself and your company.
Sure, yeah. Boston Web Group, we started in 2009. And we're focused around monetizing people's digital assets, whether it's their websites or what have you. Prior to that, I had my formative years in the hospitality industry doing marketing. I stumbled across SEO while I was doing website development in my earlier years. And it led me down a path that gave me a very special moniker, which I still stick to this day, which is, you know, if you can make somebody else money, you always have a job. And so that's what our job is at Boston Web Group. We make people money, and we get a lot of Christmas party invitations in return.
Excellent. I like that. So
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the clientele that you help. Who is your ideal customer here?
Yeah, well, so really we can help anybody become more visible on Google. It really doesn't matter what you sell or what your services that you're trying to offer. Visibility in search engines such as Google is paramount to success because of the digital age that we live in. I mean, we all know it. We're walking around with mini computers in our pocket all day, and we pull up our smartphones and we search Google so that we can discover solutions to what it is we're looking for. So what we do is make sure that your company is in front of those customers when they do those specific kinds of searches. And just to give you sort of a little kind of glimpse at a case study, since the last time we talked, we had a client that was selling high-end software, Oracle, SAP, and these are softwares that do, you know, big data. I mean, if you own, you know, 5,000 retail store locations across the country, you're going to be using software like Oracle and SAP to manage that. Well, our client was in the business of helping those large chain retail and municipal organizations get outfitted with those kinds of services. Well, we did their search engine optimization for them, and they were so highly visible that they actually ended up getting purchased by a large Fortune 500 company called Rackspace. Most people in my business, they know who Rackspace are. I'm not sure if you've heard of them. They're a large hosting company. So the point is, you know, we're doing search engine optimization to get your company visible so that you can increase your leads and develop sales. Well, in this case, this particular company was so visible that the competition came in, Rackspace, and just bought the whole company out. So we were pretty happy to get that call when the marketing department at Tricor called us up and said, "Hey, we've got some good news for you. We just got acquired." And, you know, the CEO is really happy, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, in business, everything is for sale. Well, when we're doing SEO, we never really think that we're going to sell the entire business. We're usually trying to sell like a part and parcel of it, a product or a service or what have you. In this case, Rackspace reported it as being the largest public acquisition that they've ever done. So we were happy about that. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I always say that the number one problem that businesses have is obscurity. And if you don't know that a business exists, regardless of the reason, you're not going to get acquired. You're not going to make any kind of sale. There's no kind of branding going on if nobody knows about you. So, that is, generally what I say is the number one problem. But what do you feel from your clients? What is the number one problem that they are telling you that they have?
To be honest, the number one problem that they have, whether they know it or not, is their own education. So, I mean, just to put it into context, before we take a client, we make sure they're highly educated about what they're getting so that we can set up proper goals and expectations. In this case, people are saying, I've got a business, I've got a process, I've got a staff, get me more leads. I want the phone to ring. I want the emails to come in. I want new clients that we can pitch. Well, search engine optimization is this obscure, nebulous service that they're not too clear on. And just to be clear about it, search engine SEO is the acronym for search engine optimization. That's the process by which you're getting traffic organically through the search engines by no exterior paid means. In other words, you're paying an agency directly to do editorial and create natural search results so that your website or digital assets are showing up when those keyword search changes are submitted. We're also Google partners, and we provide pay-per-click, which is completely different. That's a paid search campaign. So you pay Google directly, and then we get a management fee for managing that. That aside, and being, decorated Google partners, et cetera, you're still renting that visibility when you pay Google to do AdWords directly or any kind of third-party pay-per-click. So, what we try to do is lean away from a rented strategy, which is what that is, and go more towards an owned strategy, which is what search engine optimization will eventually allow. So it can take some time to get there, but the first step in the process is always educating the customer. Here's search engine optimization. This is organic. Here's paid per click. That's where you pay for your results. One is owned and one is rented.
So talk to me about the search engine result page, because that's where people land, and the majority of these searches are on Google. Talk to me about the real estate on that page, because I know Google wants paid advertising because that's how they make their money. And then you got the map sections, and then you've got the organic. Where gets clicked the most?
Let me give you some tips and tricks on that. So for the most part, people are going to click on organic searches because nobody wants to click on a spammy ad, correct? Well, I'll give you a brief background on that. You're right. Google makes its money and pays its stakeholders based on its pay-per-click revenues. So what happened when pay-per-click first launched is that advertisers were not putting up the proper types of links. In other words, they were advertising something that would say, click here for XYZ product. And then when you hit the landing page, it would be a completely different experience. In other words, the ads that were created were not congruent with the landing pages that they ended up on. This ended up being a big problem. So what happened was people just stopped trusting Google ads. And that's a big problem for Google and its shareholders. So the method that it used to fix this was to tell people like me in the industry, hey, you're a Google partner with us. Look, when you run your clients' campaigns for pay-per-click, make sure that your ads are congruent with your landing pages, and we will give you a lower CPC, which means cost per click. In other words, if you set up pay-per-click the proper way, you can essentially expand your client's budget, which is what we do, so that they can have an opportunity to get more eyes on their ads and more clicks. Not only that, but those people are more targeted. So on one side, when you look at a search engine results page, abbreviated SERP, what happens is at the very top, you're going to have paid ads. The nice thing about pay-per-click is that when you set it up with us, the day we press go, you're live on page one at the top in an instant. That's nice if you want market share, if you're looking for brand recognition, if you need immediate sales, if you have a seasonal business whereby you only advertise maybe a few months in the summer. Pay-per-click gets you up there immediately and it shows results. As far as the rest of the search engine results page, there are a number of us that refuse to click on the ads. And you can tell they're an ad because they say in green on the left, ad. So that's a pay-per-click AdWords ad, right? Well, underneath that are all the organic results. And that's where people, for the most part, really want to be. They want to be baked into search engine results that are organic because people trust Google. They trust Google's search product. And Google puts a lot of time into making sure that its search product is going to return the proper kind of results so that people on the other end of the keyboard will continue to use Google as a product. So to that end, what will happen is if you want Google to recognize you on the search engine optimization side in the organic section, you have to convince them somehow that you're a content authority. And we toss that word around, we don't use it lightly. Making somebody a content authority on a topic in a given market for a given geography can be difficult. It can take years, it can take months. It really depends on the variables of your business. So what we aim to do is make people content authorities so that they can obtain a larger section of the real estate in the search engine results page. So those are the two main sections that show up on the SERP page. The third one is an organic one that's been changing a lot. It's Google business listings. And those business listings are a great place to be, especially considering mobile searches are now comprised over a third of people saying, show me a salon near me, show me a gas station near me, show me a pet store near me. People are doing those searches right in Google Maps. So Google has cleverly made sure that any searches that come through any of those other trajectories end up leading a customer to a useful result. And that useful result is more often than not a business listing with that Google Map link attached right to it.
So you talked about becoming a content authority. What exactly does that mean, and how do you go about doing that?
So at the end of the day, if you want to, we don't try to beat Google's algorithm. What we try to do is show people how they can cooperate with Google, provide quality content, and be observed by Google's algorithm as a content authority. So what that really means is that you're contributing high-value content to the ecosystem that you're currently a part of. To put that into context for layman's terms, let's say there are 3 competing car dealerships in the area. And car dealership A, B, and C are vying for largely the same customers. Well, in order to pull ahead of the race and become viewed as a content authority, which will afford that business a larger stake of organic search presence, what will have to happen is they'll have to put out useful and valuable content at some frequency on a monthly or perhaps weekly basis. If that content, Google, it's simple. Google is looking for content that people can consume on mobile phones. If you can meet all the criteria for being able to deliver content across multiple devices, you will get viewed as a potential content authority. And eventually, if you keep it up long enough, you'll be essentially earmarked as a content authority, And that's when your search page, that's when your landing pages start to show up in the Google search results. It's about activity.
Okay. Now, a couple of times, Anthony, you have mentioned the business website or digital assets. What other kind of digital assets do people have to think about other than their business website?
Well, good question. So the first thing we do is take stock of everything that people have, and we like to start right at the domain names. So there are people that have hundreds and hundreds of domain names they've owned for years, and they don't do anything with them. Some of those domain names pose a much more viable, plausible content authority scenario versus perhaps another URL that they're currently using. And, you know, when we look at URLs, we look at them from that perspective. How can these URLs be leveraged? So those are the first area that we take stock in for digital assets. The rest can be, you know, other areas of their other existing domain names that they have running in their ecosystem, apps that they might have out in the App Store, potentially hardware such as kiosks that they run throughout malls or strip malls and things of that nature. So really anything that's reaching people at the digital level, which isn't limited to just their own main website and can be expanded into multiple networks of websites and landing pages and so on and so forth. So, you know, some people are just sitting on a ton of very valuable domain names that they haven't really done anything with, and they just sit there kind of paying the bill, just waiting until the day that somebody explains to them what the value is so they can assess whether or not they want to sell it, build it, or in some other way leverage it. So yeah, so the digital assets can be a range of things.
And how important nowadays is social media, and to have, you know, channels like YouTube and Facebook and Instagram for a business?
Well, we put out content on your site so that it can have a certain attractive magnetic characteristic to it. Search engine optimization and social media optimization are absolutely two services that are symbiotic, in the sense that when you're sharing information on a social platform, it's much easier for people to take it, share it, consume it, and pass it around. And what that does is it increases the amount of social signals that are going back to that particular part of the website that we're focusing our energy on. So having a social presence and engaging with people socially is an important, albeit smaller, aspect of running campaigns. And you know, the takeaway there is, when you're putting out social content, it's really not a great idea to just brag about how great your company is. Oh, look at the awards we've won. Look at this, look at that. Really, the best method to approach social media is to create helpful posts that contribute to people's understanding and raise people's education level for whatever product or service it is that you're providing. And really, if you can provide helpful content, well, that's in line with Google's goals and algorithm. So you're moving in the right direction.
Right. They're always looking for that quality content. And let's speak about the content for a minute. If somebody's looking to put new content on their website, you know, what does that look like? What is Google saying? Okay, this is a good example of quality content, and I'm going to, you know, give this more weight in the search engines.
Well, when these individual projects get approached, it's circumstantial. So each one is going to be different, right? Some people are entering into the market having done nothing for all of the years leading up to the point that we start. That being the case, the content frequency is going to start off much lighter, right? And on the other side of the coin, there are some people who are already in the race, but they're fumbling the football all the way down the course. So in that regard, those people, we'd want to keep the same content frequency and then increase it slightly over time. So it's highly circumstantial based on the project, the customer, the client, where they are, where they're going, and who they're competing with. Once that's figured out, that's when we add in a bit of creativity, which we have a maximum supply of. We're very creative at this company. And creativity goes a long way when you're trying to figure out how to leverage digital assets with new content that will attract customers in a very specific way. So there's really no cookie cutter sort of package that we can give people. Instead, what we do is we look at their entire year of content and break out we have a proprietary method of essentially designing campaigns that last for a year and that match the Google algorithm expectations, but also take into consideration the other factors that I mentioned earlier, which are where is your content at currently and where are your competitors at currently, so that we can gauge what type of content to create and when to release it.
Now let's talk about trust for a minute, because people buy when they feel that they can trust a person or a company. What kind of trust factors or does a website or a web page need to have in order for people to believe that they're the right company to do business with?
Yeah, totally. That's a great question. At the end of the day, customers are extremely interested in working with professional-looking companies. And they can be a little skittish if your company, for instance, doesn't have a website that displays properly on mobile devices. A larger portion of people are using mobile devices to look up sites. If your site is not capable of being pulled up on these various devices, you may be viewed as a company who is unable to meet that customer's requirements. So the way I like to metaphorically describe this to our clients when we get them in, the phase one objective is for us to, quote, clean up the living room before we have the guest over, right? So we don't want to run a bunch of campaigns and drag people back to a site that's lackluster. And in fact, it's the opposite. We want to clean up the site, optimize the potential for any all the different types of customers, segmented customers, to be able to be compelled to convert on the site and then run the campaign. Trust can be built through a number of ways, and the majority of it is all visual. Being as creative as we are with design, we have award-winning content producers here on our staff. What we do is give your website the Hollywood sort of makeover before we take it to the stage, quote, quote. So it's extremely important because, customers do stuff like this. They'll come to your site, and if it doesn't look good, they'll go, oh, this website doesn't look good. Well, they didn't put a lot of money into it. Well, they probably don't have a lot of customers. That's why they don't have money. Well, they're probably not that good if they don't have a lot of customers, and that's why they don't have money, and that's why their website is no good. I think I'll try another company. Alternatively, a customer may also say, wow, this is a great looking site. Look at those large company logos that they tout on their homepage. This company looks like they're well put together. They must do well. They must have a lot of customers that pay them, and therefore they can afford to do their website. This looks like the company for me. So psychologically, the customer is making a lot of assertions that are probably completely off base, right? I mean, but that's what's happening in the marketplace real time over a few over 15 minutes of cell phone searching, you know? So it's important that you really look good at the moment that your prospect is looking at you for a potential partnership or looking to hire you for your business.
Yeah, I really like that analogy, Anthony, of cleaning up the house and having it presentable. Like the in-laws are coming over, you definitely want to put your best foot forward. And
Right.
you're spending all this time and money on getting people to click on your website. You know, you definitely want that first impression to be something that converts. Now, talk to me about some of the misconceptions that people have around search engine optimization.
Well, the first misconception with search engine optimization is that they're going to get immediate results. And the fact is that search engine optimization is a marathon, not a sprint. If you can't do it for 1 year, we don't even take you as a customer. The fact is that if you want to be perceived by Google as a content authority who's organically grown, you can't go from a small seedling to a sequoia tree overnight. It has to happen slowly over time and be shown that it was organically created through proper means and essentially best practices and methods. In other words, putting out quality content and so on. So when people say, "Hey, I'm really in trouble. My business needs to. I need to fix my business. I only have a month to do it. I have $5,000 here. Do our SEO." We'll just tell them, "I'm sorry, we can't do that for you." This SEO is not a Band-Aid for your ship. It's a launching mechanism for your starship, for your ship. But let me say that again. SEO is not a Band-Aid for a hole at the bottom of your ship. Rather, it's a new way for you to launch your ship into a larger ocean. So people should not view SEO as something that's a quick fix that's going to immediately work for them, because the variables are all out of our control. Any person who does SEO professionally and tells you that they can guarantee results is lying to you, because nobody can guarantee results because we do not own Google. We know how Google works. We know how other clients were able to obtain rankings. We have our methods. We have our tricks. At the end of the day, we still cannot guarantee you that you will get results. We can guarantee you that we'll work on it and we'll optimize it. But I tell everybody before they even get in the chair, we can't guarantee results. This is a long play. And, at the end of the day, our retention rate is so high for customers. Customers who are able to step into the search engine optimization arena for the length of time we need end up becoming those content authority publishers in those space and enjoying and reaping the benefits of having high search engine placement. So the main misconception around search engine optimization is that it's going to happen overnight and immediately get them sales, and it's just not the truth. There are too many variables.
Yeah, and I like that. You have to commit long term to getting the results, and search engine optimization is definitely a great strategy for that. But you definitely have to be willing to commit to see those results. Give us a couple more case studies, if you have, Anthony, of companies that you have worked with. What kind of problems did they have before coming to you? What were you able to do for them? And ultimately, what did it mean for those businesses?
Yeah, so let me run through a couple of scenarios. So I had a blue-collar guy who was working in the restaurant industry doing HVAC. When I met them, they had no website and they had 3 trucks, a staff of 6 people. After 2 years of working with me, their staff tripled, their fleet was up to 25 trucks, and they had to move out of the building that they occupied because it simply wasn't big enough for them anymore. It's a happy story. At the end of the day, the person is now, still enjoying a #1 search result for their top rank, for their top search terms. They enjoy the rank, they enjoyed the growth, and we've enjoyed multiple referrals from that customer as a result. So it's a nice relationship. Over the course of time, search engine optimization is undoubtedly proven to be the best investment that any company can make. At the end of the day, every company should consider it and do it when it's time for them to, and when the time is right. Let me give you another scenario. So with that particular instance, that business moved out of a 3,000 square foot building into a 10,000 square foot building. Over the course of 2 years, their revenue went up. I can't tell you the exact numbers. Another good example for us was, we picked up a theater in Boston, one of the largest theaters downtown. And at the time, their site was in a bit of disarray because 50% of the people who have a website have a single sole proprietor web developer who they may or may not be able to get in contact with, right? And it can be frustrating because you're trying to run a business. You can't get the web guy or girl on the phone. They either disappear, they drop it all together. It happens all the time. Although, that can be a bit entertaining for us, and also we love it because we get a new client, we're very sensitive to the fact that it can be difficult transition for the client. So with the theater company, they had the same thing going on. The web guy was MIA, missing in action, and essentially the website had been hacked into a state of disarray. So we took the site, we fixed the security issues that it was running through Drupal, and then we created a custom WordPress-based, search engine optimized website that was based on an architecture that we put together. Well, beforehand, they did maybe 3,000, unique visits a month. About 6 months after we launched the new site, they were up to 60,000 unique visits, which is a monstrous step up from where they were before. The search engine strategy that we put into place for them, which is still in place for them, affords the opportunity for Google to rank pages based on a high-profile artist that they may or may not have a show for at that time. So what I'm saying is that the particular search engine strategy that we creatively implemented for the theater company downtown allowed for them to supersede other theater companies because the strategy allowed them to have a website that was centered around content which would expand over time as they added more and more shows to their site. And I can get into more details with that. I kind of want to keep it brief so it doesn't get too boring for you, Neil.
Yeah.
It is a happy story.
Great. And I'm sure you have many happy stories to tell. Like I said, SEO is definitely a long-term strategy, but you said it there is the strategy that generally gives you the best return for your investment over time. So definitely something to think about. So Anthony DeMarco, he is the founder of Boston Web Group. If somebody wants to reach out to you to have them look at their business and their digital presence, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I mean, you can call us at 855-355-SITE, or of course, just visit bostonwebgroup.com. Quick search for Boston Web Group. You can see, we've got awards, we've got reviews, we're 5 stars. We care a lot about our clients, and we build long-term lasting relationships with them. So I would welcome anybody to pick up the phone or shoot us an email and see if we can create a friendship.
Well, great stuff. Definitely learned a lot today about SEO and some of the concerns that businesses have about being found online. So, Anthony DeMarco, thank you very much for being my guest on the Trust Factor Radio today.
Appreciate it, Neil. Looking forward to coming back again soon.
And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
You've been listening to the Trust Factor Radio with Neil Howe. To learn about the resources mentioned in the show and to listen to past episodes, go to thetrustfactorradio.com. To get a copy of the book, The Trust Factor, go to thetrustfactorbook.com. If you are ready to act now and build your authority, credibility, and trust, schedule a consultation with Neil at theauthorityarchitect.com.